Sue from Snake River Stamping. Welcome to my stamp room this morning. If you don't know me, my name is Sue Turner. I live in Eastern Washington in the southeastern corner of Washington State, and I'm so glad that you are here today. I have some great things planned for you today. I am going to try to stay in frame today better than I did last week. I even wrote it down, so maybe I'll do that, and I'll look up once in a while. And another announcement I wanted to make is beginning next week, I've been looking at my analytics on Facebook and YouTube, and I have more subscribers active in the evenings than I do the mornings. So I'm going to try for about 4 weeks, I think. I'm going to try doing my videos on Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. And I'm going to see if I can drum up a little bit more interest and more subscribers. That's my goal, is to build my business. So beginning next week, I will be going live, and of course you can always watch my replays on YouTube. The replays, they last forever, and on Facebook they last for 30 days. You can always watch the replays anytime it is convenient for you. I'm just trying to hit some more people, get some more subscribers to my channels, and so I'm going to try changing it up a little bit. So that'll begin next week, Tuesday, November 18th at 5:30 p.m. And I will try to remember to put that on my Facebook page too. I'm really bad about that. I forgot to advertise this class, and I didn't remember that until like 11:30 last night. And I thought, well, it's too late. So anyway, I'm going to turn the camera down and make a few announcements, and we're going to get started on a card today. Really great Z-fold card. Just to remind you about Paper Pumpkin, I hope you've been subscribing to Paper Pumpkin. Today's the last day to subscribe and get November Paper Pumpkin. You have to subscribe by the 10th of the month to get Paper Pumpkin. This month, you're going to be making 8 projects. You get 8 gift tags and 8 identical coordinating boxes to go with the gift tags. The boxes will hold small things like gift cards or small treats or small gifts. You'll get linen thread, red dot embellishments. The coordinating colors are basic beige, cherry cobbler, and mossy meadow. And you will get a Stampin' Spot of old olive to go with that. And then in December, they have watercolor and bloom. You need to subscribe by December 10th to get this one. That will be coming out next month. And if you want the extra stuff that goes with it, you can order this while supplies last. Today, I am going to be featuring an online exclusive that just went live for our customers on Tuesday. This is called the Brushed with Beauty Suite Collection. This is the whole suite, which includes all of these things that they have detailed here. There are 2 bundles in this suite. This is a mega suite. It's the DSP. It's the photopolymer stamps, dies. They brought back vellum, and so that's fun to use some vellum. They have an embossing folder and Pearls of Beauty dots to go with that. So I'll be featuring this today in our card and showing you some other examples as well. Remember, this is online exclusives you will find under your menu tab. So go to your menu tab at the top of that banner top thing and just drop down to online exclusives. Click that and you can see all the online exclusives. In fact, you can even print them out like I did if you want. It's pages and pages of stuff of and they change it up every month. They add something every month to the online exclusives. Also, they are featuring, oh, it's upside down, okay. They are starting to do some classes. You do need to pay for these. They've been $30 for the class. I don't know if that'll increase or decrease. But it's the Brush with Beauty, which I just shared with you, and I'm going to share again today. Brush with Beauty craft class. The number is 170074 for the class. And they're going to use the Brush with Beauty Suite Collection, which I just shared with you. It's 167100. They're going to do a live craft class on November 20th at 2 p.m. Mountain, but if you buy the class, you can watch it anytime you want on demand, okay? And you'll have access to that forever and ever, amen. And I took last month's class, and I thought they did a really great job, because it's the people that create the suites and work with the suites. They work for Stampin' Up! Professionally, and they do a really great job of teaching these classes and giving you some background information of why they created what they did and how they did it. And you get a little behind the scenes information. Don't forget my November specials if you order from me, which I would love if you would do. If you are not working with another Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, if you would order from me by, let's say, Thanksgiving weekend, I have to order catalogs out for the January through May mini catalog. And if you've placed a $50 order in the last 6 months with me, and you still have time to get in that window, I will send you for free a brand new mini catalog beginning in January. Okay, so don't forget that. Remember, $20 you start earning Stampin' Rewards, which goes into your online account, and you can spend those later on whatever you would like. It's 10% of the total. $40 you get my card kits, and they feature this month. You're making 2 fall cards like this. You get all the paper, the ribbon, everything. You do have to have your own stamps and your own ink, okay? But I'll give you the ribbon and the little embellishments and all the things that go with this, okay? So you'll get 2 of those, and then I had 2 of those made. I don't know what I did with the other one. And you'll get 2 of these Christmas cards. Everything's cut, because I have the little tree cuts, I have the foil, I have all this stuff. Again, you have to have the stamps and ink, and you'll get the paper to do a greeting on the front, or you can maybe choose you don't want a greeting on the front, you just want a greeting on the inside. And I made a short video that goes with this, showing you how to put these together, that I will email you when I get your order also. So those are the card kits that are available. And you get your Stampin' Rewards. $50, you get the card kits. You get the New Traditions Christmas PDF, which features 2 cards this month. So the PDF, you don't get the product, but you get a PDF that explains how to make these 2 cards. All the products that you would need, alternate products, because some things are out of stock for a little while with the Traditions of Christmas, which is where I got some of this stuff. But it is coming back November 17th. It will be back, okay? So a PDF featuring 2 designs, and of course you get your 10% Stampin' Rewards. If you do a $75 order or more, you get all of the above, card kits, PDF, as well as a package of the sequins. And I already have these sequins. I already ordered some in for you guys, because these are on back order until November 24th, but I've got some, so I can send them to you if I get a $75 order or more. Remember, your orders are qualifying orders before tax, before shipping, or any coupons are redeemed, Stampin' Rewards. Okay. So those things, don't forget this craft class because it's pretty interesting. They're really good. You might really enjoy trying one of these. And like I said, you'll always have access to it. It's unlimited access to watch it over and over again. Okay. So today, oh, I wanted to review last week. Last week we made these cute little boxes, Christmas boxes to put things in, and we put some stuff. We put Christmas socks, we put candy. I told you I went to Bath and Body Works because they were having a sale last weekend, and I bought a bunch of these little antibacterial hand gels, and and I'm going to show you some other stuff later today of what I'm going to give you a choice of what we might do next week with some more Bath and Body products. And I made this box. I don't know if I showed you this, but you can put all sorts of things in these boxes that we made. And like this one is for my granddaughter, and I just bought some inexpensive earrings at Target for her, and again Christmas socks, which she'll like. And all of these little gifts and things fit perfectly in these boxes, and the ribbon goes on and off that you can just slip on and off. And you know kids, they love to play with stuff like this and put their own stuff in the boxes and all that business. So we made these bigger boxes last week, and we did some of these bigger boxes again with Christmas stuff inside, and we did some smaller boxes, and I gave you all the measurements last week. Just go back to last Monday's video on November 3rd, and you can find out I gave you all the measurements and everything to make these boxes. And they're out of one piece of paper, one piece of cardstock, and then some designer series paper and some other embellishments. But these were like super fun last week. I think I got a lot of good feedback from people on that and making the boxes. So now we're gonna, whoops, puzzle box. Now we're gonna do today. So today we're gonna do some embossing. So you will need an embossing buddy. You will need some Wow metallic gold rich regular embossing. What do you call this? Embossing powder. There we go. And you will need some Versamark, and that's the special glue that the embossing powder sticks to. You'll need some of that to do this. You will need some ink and a brush. I'm going to show you a little technique with the vellum today. Okay. So those are some things you need ahead of time to be able to do this card. So the card base, I'm going to use this new paper, this new suite called Brush with Beauty, and it has really lovely paper in it. I should have cut this because it's easier to see it when it's cut. I love this stripe. It's really neutral, and I'm going to use this stripe on my card today. I really like that. And then on the back it has this lovely floral pattern. Okay. This is a really neutral pattern in petal pink and white. And then it has these little flowers on the back. This is Darling Duckling in the background here. And that's the same one. This looks kind of like an oil painting. This is another subtle background piece, which would be really good for a card. And on this side, we have a different floral pattern with this. It doesn't list this on the package, but this is crumb cake to me, and I've seen cards made with this that looks just fine on crumb cake. Very vanilla and mossy meadow. And this green is mossy meadow. This one is Calypso Coral on this side, and we're going to use some Calypso Coral with our ink today. And then we have more of these flowers, but this time instead of the Darling Duckling, they have the crumb cake and the very vanilla and early espresso in the background for that one. This one is Lost Lagoon, another kind of an oil painting like neutral background. And then I think this is the pattern I'm using along with the stripes today. I'm mixing this and the stripes with my card today. And then they have this pattern with the little, I don't know what you call them, little dashes. And then on the other side, it's another floral pattern. And actually, these two types of things go together really well. They look really good, great on a card. And then, of course, we have the vellum, which went away for a while, but now it's back. I think a lot of people asked for vellum to come back because they really missed using the vellum. And then a couple other things that are in this pack, in this suite. There is this beautiful pattern embossing folder, and it's kind of a diagonal. It's got little stars in the middle and little dashes on it. It's a really great embossing folder for backgrounds. Really great. Hopefully you can see that. And then they have some of these beautiful pearls. They have white and they have Calypso Coral, and then they have the neutral that looks kind of crumb cakey to me. Although, like I said, they don't really list crumb cake as one of the colors, but I believe crumb cake is definitely in this suite. So that's right there. So to make our cards today, I'm going to be using some of these things. And we're going to start out with a card base that is 5.5 by 11, and we're going to score it at 4 1/4 and 8 inches. We're going to turn it and cut a 2 3/4 by 3 inch square on it. Okay, so we'll do that in a moment. You're going to need a piece of gold. We're going to cut some leaves out of the gold. You're going to need some Calypso Coral for the inside, 3.5 by 5.5. You're going to need that stripe pattern I told you about. It has some florals on the back, some big florals, but we're going to use a little bit smaller florals, 4 by 5 1/4. We'll do that. This is the floral that's going to be showing on the front, more or less, 3.5 by 5 1/4 inches. And you can see that this floral pattern is a little smaller than the other one. So I'm going to put these two together, okay, along with the Calypso Coral. And we're going to do the envelope. We need 6 by 2 1/4 to do the envelope flap. Okay. You need a piece of vellum, and you actually don't need this much vellum. I said 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 because it was kind of the same size as this other. But I'm gonna show you about the embossing, and you don't need that much because you just need a couple flowers from this set. We're going to decide which one of these backgrounds we're going to use. We're either going to use the stripe or the calypso coral. We'll see. I have one. Oh, I have one started, but I didn't put it back on it yet. It's 2 1/2 by 2 3/4. So you can either do the cardstock or you can do the designer series paper on the front of the card. Either one. And then you will have a strip left over when you cut this one. So save that 1/2 inch strip because we can use it on the bottom, on the inside. So just save that strip. Then we'll trim it down. Okay. So pieces and parts, pieces and parts. First we're gonna score and cut the card. And just in case I do it wrong, I already have one scored and cut right here. It's going to look like this because we're going to score at 4 1/2, we're going to score at 8, and that leaves a 3-inch piece right here, and we're going to cut out the square. And I will show you, hopefully I will show you successfully how I did that. So I'm going to bring in my trimmer, and I'm going to move a few things. I'm going to slide this in with the long side. I'm going to park my dark, and my first score is at 4 1/4 inches. Sorry, my first score is at 4 1/4. And this is going to actually be the back of my card at 4 1/4. And then you need to extend your arm out and go to 8 inches and score. Okay. So this is the back of my card. This is the inside middle, and this is the front of my card, which is 3 inches. So what I need to do is I need to go over to 2 3/4 on this 3-inch panel. And I'm gonna go down to 3 inches right here. Yeah. Okay. And then I'm going to turn this over because I'm going to turn it this way. Sorry. I'm going to turn this to 2 3/4 again. No. Did I already do this wrong? I wanted to go down to 2 3/4. See, this is why I made an extra one. I wanted to go down to 2 3/4, and then this one goes over to 3, and you slice. And I usually slice close, but not all the way, and I cut. So this is actually, I did this wrong. This is correct. See, good thing I made an extra one. So you go down to 2 3/4, and then you go down to 3, okay? And I have this in the directions. So you end up with a base that looks like this, and you fold over and you fold back. This makes a Z fold. And you have this little part cut out because this is going to be on the front for us. Okay. All right. Now, I'm just going to put some pieces on here, and then I'm going to do some embossing. And this was our 4 by 5 1/4, so just a little bit smaller than our back piece. And this is on Very Vanilla, and this has Very Vanilla and Crumb Cake in it, so it looks really nice on there. And it's sad to cover up these pretty flowers, but we're going to cover them up because the stripe looks really good with the other pretty flowers. And I know it's hard for you to see where the fold lines are and stuff, but I can see it. So I'm just going to glue that down. Okay, so that's going to form my background. So now for my next piece, for my flowers, which are 3 1/2 by 5 1/4, they go on the front, like right here. But we want to cut a diagonal from here to here. So I need to bring in my trimmer again. And if it helps you to draw a line, draw a line. But I'm just going to place the fold right in my track, and the fold, where I creased it in this track, and I'm going to go up, and I'm going to go down. I might have to cut it. Yeah, I'm going to have to cut it just a little bit with my scissors because it was really hard for me to see. Where that was. So I'm just trimming that off. If you're really good with your trimmer, I mean, I've seen people do this with their trimmer and they're really good at it. So our Z fold now has this diagonal cut out of it. This little triangle is cut out. And you don't need this. I mean, you can save it in your scrap bin. I have a scrap bin for every single color. And now we're going to put this DSP on here, but we're going to cut it so that it, and this is really pretty easy. I'm going to set this to the side for a second. It fits in between my folds, my creases. And I'm going to raise it a little higher than what I'm really going to have it. I mean, I'm really going to have it down here, but I need some extra room at the top too to make and I'll see how this turns out. But I just center this, and if you want to put, it's not a bad idea to grab a sticky note just to hold it in place while you do this next part. I'll just put it like this, because I do want this to stay straight. Okay, and I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to take a pencil because I want to cut a diagonal and I want it to be even with the diagonal I already cut. So I'm going to take a pencil mark and make that diagonal. And I'm going to bring my paper trimmer back in. And I'm just going to put this diagonal in the trimmer, in those channels. And especially with DSP, it's always smart to start in the middle, go up, and then go down. Because sometimes DSP is a thinner, a little more fragile paper. Okay, you won't need this for this card. You can save it for a different card. So now you have a piece that fits on this, and it should, if it doesn't have the right amount, so I'm gonna try to just eyeball, and I see I need a little bit more down here, so it's so much easier to cut off like a 1/16 of an inch at the bottom than it is on that diagonal. Okay, so I'm just going to cut a smidge of that off because I wanted a little more border on my card. That looks a little bit better. Looks a little more even to me. Okay. So set that to the side. And now I can glue this down. And I'm going to do the other side of this using this same little method. A little bit of scrap there. Okay. So now I have my stripes in the background, I have this, and then this is going to be the very front where I put my focal point in a moment. But I am going, you could leave this blank, but I thought it would look better because there's Calypso coral in here, and I'm going to use some Calypso coral in here. I'm going to do that same method to cover the back of this card. I'm going to raise that a little bit more. I'm going to center it. I'm going to put a sticky note on it. I'm going to draw a line, and I'm going to cut it at a diagonal. Okay. I'm just going to put that sticky note. So this is the same size. The front was 3.5 by 5 1/4. Okay. So I'm just going to turn this over. I'm going to grab that pencil again. I'm going to draw my line. Take this off, bring in my trimmer, and trim this diagonal. Right on that line. And this is cardstock, so it's a little bit stronger versus the designer series paper. So now I have a piece that should fit, unless I need to trim off the bottom, which I do need to trim just a smidge off my bottom. Put that right up there. I'm just going to trim off like a 1/16 of an inch, just a little smidge. And I'm going to glue this on. Well, I might not glue it on yet because I want to stamp on it. I'm gonna see how well my stamping goes. But to keep this in place, I'm just gonna take a tiny bit of Stampin' Seal. I'm just gonna put one little smidge on there. So if I have to change this out, it's easy to tear it off and change it out. But that's the way the inside's going to go. Okay, so there'll be something, because we can stamp on this. Okay, so now we are going to make, we can either use this stripe again for our mat, and I think that looks nice because it goes stripe, floral, stripe. Or we can use the Calypso coral for our mat, which also looks nice. And we're going to put some we're going to stamp on this, and we're going to put some vellum flowers on this, and it's going to look really pretty. I think I like, and I don't know what you would prefer, this one or this one. I think I'm going to put the stripe on. I think I like the stripe. I like the stripe, the floral, the stripe. So I'm just going to glue that on because I know I'm going to use that. And I made sure my stripes are going the same direction, up and down on that one. So I also have a little piece, and that one's not it. Where's my other little piece? There it is. Okay, this one was 2 1/4 by 2 1/2, and this is going to go here. And I'm going to be stamping on this and putting some flowers on this. Okay. And I'm going to bring in, here's my vellum that I'm going to use, and this is what I'm going to stamp my flowers on. I'm going to bring in the and this is the new packaging, and this is what I decided to do. I like to keep all my stamps with coordinating dies together. So I took all the dies off, and I rotate my magnets sheets. I mean I have a bunch of magnet sheets, but when stamp sets retire, I put all the stuff in little envelopes and put them back in the package. But the stamps will stick to the back of the magnet sheets. They're made that way for stamps to stick on there. And then I have my coordinating magnets or dies on the front of the magnet sheet, and they all go in one envelope. I mean, this is so much smaller packaging. And then I just cut and fold down these two so I can see that I have dies in this package that go with Petals of Beauty, and I have the photopolymer set that goes with Petals of Beauty. And all of those items are right here, and they go right in this package, just like that. And that I think is going to work for me, so I can, keeping track of things, believe me, is my nemesis, is keeping track of things. And then with this set, I told you it was a super sweet. It also has a lot of words, a lot of messages, and the dies to go with them. And I did the same thing. I went and pulled out one of my retired sets, got one of my just one of my magnets sheets that I buy from Stampin' Storage. That's a great, they have great magnet sheets that are strong. So I put, you probably can't see, I put all my stamps on this one side. They stick to that and come right off. And then I put all the coordinating dies on the other side. So I'm going to use You've Been on My Mind, which is right here. You've Been on My Mind. And I'm going to emboss that. And I'm going to emboss and cut these two flowers. These are the detailed flowers. They have, they're two-step stamps if you want to use them that way, but I'm just going to use the detailed part because I want to be able to see through them. So I'm going to use these two, and I'm going to emboss those. So, embossing. you've been on my mind. So sometimes to get this even, I'll put it on my glass mat. Can you see that? It's too low. I put it on my glass mat and I line it up on the line, and then I stick my block on top of it to try to get it nice and straight on that block. And then this block, you don't have to worry about getting a flower straight because it's just going to go, we're going to cut it out anyway. So I have that flower and this smaller flower. We're going to do 2 embossed flowers. So the first thing you want to do, let me scoot this back down so you can see it. The first thing we want to do, so there's our card base so far, is we're going to emboss our words, because I thought gold would just look, I like gold, and I just thought it would look really great on here. So before you emboss, always embossing buddy that will take away the oils. I did put lotion on my hands this morning, so I want to make sure that since I'm touching all this stuff, that I don't get any oil on anything. And my hands and stuff will cause a problem. And I want to clean embossing. And then I take my Versamark, and that's the special glue to hang on to. And I'm very generous with this glue. Just tap, 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 tap. And get that glue on there. And I want, these are photopolymer stamps. So I want a Stampin' Pierce mat. Don't let me lose this. Piece of vellum. So I'm just going to put this down in the corner. You've been on my mind. I'm going to give it a very firm press. And I know you can't see it, but you can see the glue, sticky stuff kind of shines a little bit. But you're going to be able to see it in a minute. Cover up your Versamark because we're going to sprinkle embossing powder over this, and we're going to emboss these words. So you just sprinkle liberally, and be sure to have a piece of paper, or if you have the embossing toolkit. I've never gotten it just because I just have had this other stuff and I just use it. And it's always a good idea to have a little paintbrush, dry paintbrush, to clean up any strays. So you can see I've got You've Been on My Mind, but it's not embossed yet, so that could come off super easy. But I want to get this powder put away before I start blowing with my heat tool. And just in case you were wondering, a hairdryer does not work. It does not get hot enough. You need a real heat tool. And I'm going to heat it up for just, well, yeah, I'm going to heat it up. I don't want to let this sit because I do want to do the flowers too, but I'm going to let this heat tool heat up for just a moment because I want to get it nice and hot so it melts that embossing powder, but it doesn't burn my paper or make it go too far. So it's handy if you have reverse tweezers, because then you can hold things. And if you don't have reverse tweezers, a clothespin works to hold it, so you don't have to get your hands too hot. Okay, so I think I have this pretty hot, and it's going to melt. Keep it moving, and you can start seeing it melt. It doesn't take long. Okay. It does not take long, so I've got You've Been on My Mind. Okay, so now I'm going to set that to the side. Now I'm going to emboss 2 flowers, and I'm going to do it on the vellum. All right, again, embossing buddy. I'm only going to have to emboss these 2 flowers. I'm not going to use this whole sheet, so I'm going to put the embossing buddy on about half of it. Okay. And then I come back with my Versamark, and I'm going to do 1 big flower, 1 detailed big flower, and 1 detailed small flower. Again, very generous with the Versamark, this glue stuff. And I'm going to press firmly. I'm using my Stampin' Pierce mat because it gives me some cushion, and I got a really good impression of that one. And I'm going to do the same thing with the small one. I'm going to put that down here. And I got a great impression of that. Cover up my Versamark. Bring in my embossing powder. Sprinkle that. I have my paper underneath so that I can tap it off. And I see I didn't quite get it some places, so I put it back on. That, just shake it around. There, got it. And I need that paintbrush a little bit to get some of these strays off of here. Sometimes if you tap it, you can get them off. Yeah, that did it. I just tapped it on the back with my finger, and that bounced those strays off because I used my embossing buddy. Okay, so that's like perfect. So I want to put away all my embossing powder before I blow these. It's really easy just with a piece of paper, just to bend it and put it right back in the jar. This will literally last you for years. And I go back to my reverse tweezers, and I shouldn't have to heat this up very long because it was just heated up, so it probably isn't all the way cooled off. And I'm going to emboss heat these until they're shiny. They're going really fast. Now vellum is a little more delicate than cardstock, so be really careful that you don't heat too long. Just look for it to turn shiny. And that's done. Just like that. That is done. Okay. Now I'm not going to cut them out because I've already cut some out for us. I just wanted to show you the embossing. Then I would put the dies on and I would cut them out, and I've already done that. Okay, but those turned out really good. This is what I wanted. Okay, because I'm going to color them on the back. Right. So I have a couple in my box over here, as well as a little bit of the leaf. I have the gold leaf. I used part of it on the other one. And that is in the set, in the die set. Yeah, it's this one. I cut this gold leaf out of the gold foil, and I used the bottom half on another card. Okay, so I just cut that out. And then there's a chubbier leaf if you wanted it, but I didn't want a whole lot of leaf because this isn't a real big piece of paper that we're putting this on. It's pretty small. So I've got these that I embossed yesterday, and I cut them out, and I'm going to flip them upside down, and I'm going to bring in, this is where my Calypso coral comes in, and I'm going to put some on my brush. I'm going to rub it off, and I need those. I need something pointy like scissors. I need something to hold this down besides my finger. And I'm going to put Calypso coral on the back of these vellum flowers. Oh, that one's definitely darker. So I need to make this one darker. And that will show through on the vellum and bring in a smidge of that Calypso coral that I had going on in my DSP. And this is going to stay wet for a little while. You see how pretty that is? The translucent, you can see the Calypso coral through it. It's darker on the back, but on the front the gold covers it up. And then there's this one, this little one. Okay. Now see, those are going to stay wet for a while. I'm not sure how long, because I had to wait for a while yesterday before I could get them on there. I don't know, we'll see. If all else fails, I have an extra one done. But I want to put a little bit of this leaf on here. So I'm going to trim some of this off. And I just had my scissors. There. I'm going to trim this off because I think I just want a little bit of that leaf on there. And it can go off the edge a little bit. And I'm going to use my precision tip. I put some of my Tombow in here, which takes quite a while to get it in there, but I'm going to just put some dots of glue. I'm not going to go on the tips because the tips are going to go off the page. And I'm going to let that dry for just a second. Probably should have done that before. And always put your lid back on your precision tip glue because it will keep it from getting the glue stopped up. You know how it does that. And then you have to stick a needle in there or something and all the stuff. So I'm going to put this one down. I'm going to need some glue dots because almost everything will show through the vellum. But if you put your glue dots behind the gold pieces, and I'm going to put that right in the center, even though it shows through a little, I'm going to put a gem on the middle of that. And I'm going to bring in some more glue dots. Put them over here. Glue dots, yes. Sticking to me. Do not want to stick to that vellum very badly. Man. Stick. does not want to stick. Okay. Let's try a new one. I might have to put it on afterwards. Did that middle one stay on? I don't think so. Oh, it's over. It moved. If I can just get one on there, I can stick it on the paper and then stick it down. Okay. Okay. No, didn't stick. Okay, I might have to use regular glue. Maybe the glue dots aren't happy today. I'm going to stick some regular glue on here. But I'm sticking it underneath the gold. And now that I've got that stuck down, I think I can stick a glue dot underneath there. Except I have one on my thumb. I'm going to stick one under here and press, and that will hold. Press and hold. Worked for me yesterday. Okay. So now I'm going to take, I want that leaf underneath. Oops. Tell ya. So I want this underneath. Because I'm going to set the second flower over here. I'm just going to kind of layer it on top. Now you can pop this up with dimensionals, but you have to put the dimensionals on the paper and then put glue on the dimensional on the other side. It's a little bit harder. Maybe I'll do that with part of it. Thought I got some dimensionals out. Big ones, I need little ones. So you just take the paper off of it. And I'm going to stick a little bit of glue on this. And stick this under here. Maybe. Man, I'm having gluing problems today. It's the vellum and the ink that it's not liking. Okay. That only looks marginally good. So it's a good thing I made number 2. Okay. Or no, this was number 1. And I still heat embossed the gold You've Been on My Mind, and I colored those, and I put gold gems from the traditional sparkling sequins. I used a large one on the large flower and a medium one on the smaller flower, and I have the gold out there. So, trying to finish this up. Put this on here. Now you could pop this up if you wanted to. But this is kind of a thick card. so I didn't think I wanted to pop that up. But there, that's what I was looking for. That vellum colored, and those two different patterns of paper, I really liked that. And then I still have this inside piece, and maybe I can find the skinny border I told you to keep. There it is. Okay, I told you to keep this 1/2 inch strip because you could put this down here. Okay, it only needs to be 3.5 inches long. So I'm just gonna snip that. And we know that DSP will adhere to cardstock. Yay! So that could be a decoration down there. And I would go back to my my words, my sentiments that you have. I did "You've been on my mind." I might put "I think you're amazing," "You're a great friend," "It's your birthday." They have "just because." They have all sorts of things that you can choose to put on here. Wanted "You're amazing." Oh, "You're a great friend." That'd be good. "You're a great friend." Okay. Try to get this straight. And I'm going to try Calypso Coral on Calypso Coral. I'm going to try it on this one first. I think it'll look okay. But this will be my inside sentiment. Yeah, you can see that because the ink is darker than the paper. So I'll bring this back in. Oh, fudged on the Y. Might have to put a gem there or something. Well, no, it's on the inside. Anyway, you can write on this. You know, you could use a black marker or whatever. You could write on this. You could write on the back, whatever you like. But that is the Z-fold, the corner cut Z-fold card. And I think these are so pretty. And I have some other ones to show you, as well as ask you about what you would like to do next week, because I have two choices, two really fine choices for next week. Let me get this inky paper out of here so it doesn't accidentally inky up anything that I don't want it to ink up. I'll grab a new paper and put it under there. So the samples that I have are right here. So these samples are all the same exact measurements and folds, which I will share with you in just a second. I just use different papers and different ideas on them, you know. This one's kind of general. "You've been on my mind," "You're a great friend." You know, I mean, you always need that kind of card, right? So that's really handy. Get those out of the way too. So I did I did a couple fall ones because I have a bunch of fall cards and I just have to start sending them out. Thankful for You, I was using that Gathering Together paper, so this is the same fold with that pretty paper. And I did the same paper because I didn't like the background on this because it's like really neutral. Oh, and I have a trick to show you about these things. Don't let me forget that. About making those that I saw. Oh, what did I see? Lena Gersa, I think, showed this stamping trick that is like amazing. Anyway, I want to share that with you. So that was one. This was just another pattern. I just love that. And then I made some with the Autumn Toile, and I used different patterns because I liked the background on this one. So I did that, and I cut the deer in that set, and the tree. I cut it out of that Earth and Elegance. It's like foil, but it's darker, and it looks really, really pretty on that. Doesn't it look pretty? I just love that. I love this card. So this is a birthday card. Birthday wishes for a day as great as you. So happy to celebrate you. And I stamped a tree, and they've got the trees over here, and they've got the little deer. I just thought that turned out great. And then I made a happy birthday Christmas card. A friend of mine, she has a birthday in December, so I think I'll use this for her. And I pulled that Pretty in Pink color out. It's a little bit darker than this one, but I pulled that out in this one. And I didn't have a small die, and I think I've told you before, I cannot fussy cut to save my life. So I cut a circle. I can cut a circle. You know, I got a lot of punches and die cut things, you know, to cut a circle and put it on there for a focal point. So I did that. And stamped happy birthday. You know, I might stamp something inside, but that turned out really cute. So all of these were just like adorable, adorable, adorable. And directions. Clean up the mess. Ah, the envelope. I know you've seen people do these envelopes. It's 6 by 2 1/4. That's all it is, of matching DSP. And you can take a tape runner, you can take some glue, and you put it directly on the flap of the envelope. Okay? And you lay your rectangle. Make sure not to go over the score line, the fold of the envelope, because it doesn't fold well. Okay, and then you just flip it upside down, and you can see where you should cut. Then you just follow the edges. And cut that. Just like that. And that makes a beautiful envelope. And it goes with our card. Isn't that pretty? It always makes a wonderful presentation when you do something like this. Okay, when you put some DSP on that envelope. So I wanted to share the directions with you. You can take a screenshot of this. You might have to take two because it's kind of, I put too much spacing in here. So you start with this Z fold, very vanilla card base, 2.5 by 1 by 2, 2 1/4 by 2.5. You need that for this very front piece. That's what this one is, 2 1/4 by 2.5. And then you need 5.5 by 11 to cut this. Okay. You're going to score it at 4 1/4 and 8. You're going to turn and cut that box 2 3/4 by 3 from the 3 by 5 front panel, but from this little front panel, you cut that off. okay? And then you cut from this corner to this corner to make that diagonal cut, all right? Then, oh, this is the same as this one. I wrote it down twice. Scratch that. I wrote that down twice. And that was just for that front panel. Then the Calypso coral for the inside that you're going to diagonally cut is 3.5 by 5.25. And then you place it on there, mark it, cut it, trim off the bottom if you need to. And then you need a 2.5 by 2 3/4 if you want to put your background as Calypso coral. Now if you don't, you can use the stripe pattern, which is down here. The gold foil, you need about a 4 by 4 to cut that leaf, but that leaf will cut up into like 3 different leaves, because you don't need a lot of leaf behind here. You just need a little sprig of leaf. For the foil. For the vellum, about 4 inches by 4 inches. The piece I had was too big. I mean, I only used about half of it. Then the designer series paper, I used Brush with Beauty. I used the floral pattern for this. I used 3.5 by 5.25, and I did the diagonal cut and trimmed the bottom to make it all fit. The envelope was 6 by 2.25 for the envelope flap. You will have a leftover piece of scrap 1/2 inch by 3.5. I just trimmed it to 3.5 because it was longer, but it's about 1/2 inch that can go on the inside. The stripe pattern was 4 by 5.25 for the back here, and then I used the stripe pattern to go up front too for 2.5 by 2 3/4, or you could use the Calypso coral. The embellishments I used were, you can either use the Pearls of Beauty, which I did not use. I used traditional sequins because I had so much gold on here. I liked that a little bit better, to use those traditional sequins. But you could certainly use one of these because those coral ones would look pretty in there too. So either one of those. So let me move that down. You can take a screenshot of the first part of the directions. And I'll cover them up. And then the second part of the directions with the designer series paper and embellishments. And the traditional sparkling sequins are on back order until November 24th. But if you want some, order from me this month and I'll send you some. Okay. So that's our card for today. And my question for you for next week is I want to do another box. So on page 26 of the mini catalog, yeah, they have this box right here. And if you scan this QR code, you can watch them make it. It's in fast motion, really fast. And so I watched it half a dozen times, and I came up with this box. Their measurements were different than mine in terms of I had to make my lid bigger because they said to make it the same size as this box. Well, it doesn't fit on there. It needs to be just a smidge bigger, so I had to make mine a smidge bigger to have a lid on there. But it has all these dividers, and you can put stuff in here. So that's a fun box. We could do that one. And I would love it if you would tell me in the comments which box you would like to make, or Bath and Body Works box. So I made this box. I watched Judy Salva. She made this box. So like in this box, you can put their hand soap, their foaming hand lotion fits in this box. And see, this lid is smaller than the box, so it fits down on it perfectly. Or, in this box, I made a mistake. Do you see the mistake? I forgot to make the little topper thing. I just glued it down, but it still lifts off, but also their big lotion, their body creams, fit perfectly in this box. So I have to fix this today before I take it to Rose tomorrow. It's her birthday. I made it for her. So I have to make another one of these that has the topper thing on it, and so I can put a bow on it and make it look pretty. So I'll just get another piece of this and make another one of these. It's easy to do. So I have the directions for that. So next week, would you like to make the Bath and Body, or would you like to make this pretty divider box like this? This one's a little harder to make. This is a little easier. So I'd love to hear what you would like to make next week. So just type me a comment, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, and then we'll do that next week, okay? All right. Let me point the camera up. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate your time. I love the projects that you're doing. I love that you're sending your handmade cards to your friends and your relatives and making people's day just a little bit happier. And with these wonderful boxes and gifts that you're making, that's fun too. Everybody likes that. All right, we'll see you next Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. if you want to catch the live, or anytime if you want to catch the replay. And you can still comment on replays and leave your choices on there so I can see what people want to do, and then I'll prepare that stuff. All right, well, we will see you next Tuesday.